Welcome back to 3 Up, 3 Down. We have completed 95% of the league. Well, maybe not 95, but a very heavy chunk of the league. We're finishing up with our last division for this year's 2023 MLB season. 3 Up, 3 Downs, division breakdowns. We're rounding it off with the NL West. First team on the docket, the first place finishers, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Losers to their little brother up in San Diego. We're able to knock them out of the playoffs in the NLDS by a score of 3-1. So what did the Dodgers do? How did they add? What is their response? Well, let's take a look at it. Through free agency, they brought in Red Sox slugger DH J.D. Martinez. Brought in David Peralta from Tampa to play the left field position. And then also traded for Miguel Rojas to play the shortstop. In terms of their pitching, they brought in, through the free agent market, Noah Syndergaard. But let's take a look at this roster before we break it down. Starting in the one hole, Mookie Betts at right field, followed by Freddie Freeman at first. Then Will Smith behind the plate. Max Muncy, the powerful Max Muncy at third. DHing, like we said, J.D. Martinez, David Peralta in left, Trace Thompson in center, Thompson brothers, splash, second baseman, Miguel Vargas, and third and shortstop, Miguel Rojas. Alex, what do you got on this starting nine for the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, Trey Turner is a massive loss. That's about as big of a loss as you can have in terms of just like all-around abilities. They're going to miss him in that two-hole. It looked a lot more intimidating when it was Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, and Freddie Freeman. Yeah. That looked like, okay, we got to face three All-Stars, MVP caliber players. Will Smith is no slouch in the three-hole, but it's definitely a change of pace there, right? Trey Turner is going to hurt any team when you lose him, but if there's one team that could weather the storm at least somewhat and find ways to replace him with multiple players, it would be the Dodgers. So there's that front four in five, really, with J.D. Martinez of Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy, and J.D. Martinez is still formidable. I mean, these guys can all hit 25 homers. Fangraphs is projecting them to all hit about 25 homers, if not more. Still very good. And the bottom of the lineup kind of looks how the Dodgers' bottom half of the lineup's been looking for a little bit, which is not randos, but not necessarily any stars, but seemingly produced to close to the top of their abilities. They lost Gavin Lux for the year. That was a huge loss. So
huge
as kind of the replacement. He wasn't going to play short, but he was going to step into second and be that everyday second baseman. Gone for the year. Top prospect. Had played well last year.
Unfortunately, torn ACL for the second baseman, Gavin Lux.
Yeah, so it's a lineup that is good, but J.D. Martinez, David Peralta, guys that haven't stayed healthy. Trace Thompson, you can't expect much out of. Miguel Rojas, I think, will have a good year. He's a good bat. And I don't think gets enough credit because he's been playing in Miami for a while, but he's a good player. But there's a lot of room for improvement in this lineup still, and it should still be good. Like I think it's easy to look at the loss of Trey Turner and see that back half of this lineup and think it might not be really good. It will be.
I agree. I think after losing Trey Turner, it's no longer the three-headed dragon that kind of was at the first three spots of this lineup. And you saw, obviously, Trey Turner mash the ball at the World Baseball Classic. So Philly fans got to be excited about that, as we covered in our NL East division breakdown. But let's plug and play. Let's look at the bench a little bit. They've got the formidable Austin Barnes behind the plate. And then you look at Chris Taylor, one of the best utility guys. He would be a starter pretty much in any other franchise in the league. But the fact is, they've got someone like Chris Taylor who can play the infield, can play the outfield, and he's going to be a stud at both. And he's still going to be a very good hitter for this team. So Chris Taylor in that infield-outfield utility spot. Then they brought in the ageless wonder. Surprisingly, he's only 33 at this point. I'm actually shocked by that. But Jason Hayward from the Cubs, after being released in the offseason, they signed him as a free agent. And then James Outman is looking at the projected bench.
Quickly here, I got to jump in and say I don't think anyone's ever called Austin Barnes the formidable Austin Barnes or the ageless wonder of Jason Hayward. But I think they're going to be happy. I mean, the Dodgers bench sounds really good right now. The best utility man and the formidable Austin Barnes and ageless.
He looked good for Team Mexico in the World Baseball
He did. And he's a really good backup catcher and a guy who will get a good amount of at-bats, I think, because Will Smith will probably DH a good amount.
Well, and you've got, Will Smith. I mean, he's 28 years old. You've got young legs in Smith in that sense. And the fact is, I think you can kind of plug and play with Barnes at that backup catching role. It allows Muncy to maybe play first base if needed. If not,
They'll rotate that stuff around.
Yeah.
There's going to have a lot of lineup rotation in terms of fielding.
Yep.
But a guy I want to touch in on here is James Outman. 7th round pick. Not much in 2018, so pretty quick for him to reach the majors as a 7th rounder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not many 7th rounders do anyways. But he had 30 homers in AAA last year and came up for a couple games for the Dodgers and hit incredibly well. He's a guy with a big bat. He's tall. He just looks like he'd be a really good hitter. I think he's going to have a big year, and I think if the Dodgers lineup is going to be one of the best in baseball, he's going to have a breakout year. And I really do. Everything I've seen from him, I really like. I like to do little stat profiles. As the White Sox were rebuilding for a while, I got into the prospects, and when you see a guy who doesn't
be that way when you're rebuilding,
it does. But you start reading like Fangraphs and Baseball Reference and try to make a judgment on a player without watching them. Mm-hmm. He seemingly has a very good approach to the plate. I mean, the walk strikeout numbers are very good. The power numbers are very good. He just profiles as a guy who's going to translate well, and so far, in very limited sense, he has. Look for him to be a breakout this year.
Yep. No, I completely agree. I think quickly before we turn it over towards the rotation in the bullpen, I like what they're asking a lot of Miguel Vargas, a guy who throughout spring training you saw for a good while. I believe he was nursing a hand injury or something. He was just up there to stand there as a body and see MLB pitching. And the fact was he was walking a ton. So Miguel Vargas will be a top prospect in this organization. He was the 10th ranked prospect last year, and he steps into that second base role for Gavin Lux, injured with the torn ACL. Like I said, let's take a look at the rotation. Leading off from Mexico, Julio Urias, in his first year really as that number one ace. Well, maybe second year as that number one ace for this Dodgers rotation, followed by Dustin May. Gotta love Dustin May as a fellow redhead. Always on the supporters for Dustin and his long, curly, red hair locks. You gotta love it. Moving on from there. All right, this one's definitely an ageless wonder. The always reliable Clayton Kershaw, followed by Thor, like we talked about. In the offseason, they brought in Noah Syndergaard, followed by Robin Pepiot.
We were trying to debate this.
Let us know, Dodgers fans.
Pepiot. Uncertain.
We're not quite sure how that's pronounced. Looking at that 5th spot with Pepiot to fill in, obviously the young 25-year-old, his first full year of pitching. He is the 6th ranked prospect after last year in the organization. He is filling in a role for Walker Buehler, who did have Tommy John surgery in August. So it's kind of they don't know what they're expecting out of Buehler this season. It's questionable if he will return. They're hopeful. He has started throwing from I think 60 feet, so we'll see what happens with the return for Walker Buehler. And then Tony Gonsolin, a guy who won a ton of games last year. He showed his ability to be an MLB ready pitcher. He is starting the year on the IL, but should be back hopefully in April. What do you got on the rotation?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. I mean, looking at this, I'm surprised to see Julio Urias is going to be 27 this year. Still 26 years old right now. Will be 26 for most of the season. He seems like he's had so many big moments and had so many good innings for this team. Just continuing to be a great player for this team. I remember when he was a prospect because he was an interesting one, and he seems to just have quietly lived up to that very well. Dustin May will be exciting to watch. If you haven't watched him, he's tall, lanky, he's got the big red hair. I think he may have cut it, so it might be a little shorter, unfortunately.
I'm sad to hear that.
I'm not sure if it's true. I know he did at one point during the recovery, but he'll be an exciting player to watch. Really electric stuff. Got this sinker that's just like way too fast, way too hard, and pairs it with good breaking stuff. So he'll be fun. Kershaw. And then Syndergaard, I expect Syndergaard, they're going to get the most out of him because that's what the Dodgers do. So the rotation looks really good. And with Gonsolin coming back, it's even better.
And if you get someone like Walker Buehler towards the end of the season, get him a few innings, get him ready to maybe be someone out of the bullpen, just in the sense of him coming back from his second Tommy John surgery at this point. You'd like to probably ease Buehler back in. It allows a little bit more of a question mark at that 5 spot for this Dodgers rotation, but we'll have to see what happens with the rotation. Let's see. But let's jump into the bullpen. The bullpen already starting to hurt with Daniel Hudson on the IL and J.P. Frierson as well.
And Blake Trinan.
Thank you. As key guys of that bullpen, they will look to get them back. Frierson coming back from shoulder surgery will be a little bit of a tougher one to have, as he did have that in December before the new year. And then Hudson, he's had it's been a tough 12 months for Hudson. I think he's had knee surgery, ankle problems now. They're just looking for him to be a reliable closer.
And he looks like he's close.
Yes, I completely agree. But who's healthy? Who's healthy? Right now, scheduled, it's going to be a probable closer by committee until these guys get healthy. But starting off with Evan Phillips, Alex Vesla, Brudsar Gratol, Gratterall, thank you, Caleb Ferguson, and Shelby Miller. Also breaking, hopefully for his first full year, their 17th organized ranked prospect, Andre Jackson, coming into the long-term relief role for this Dodgers team. What do you got on the bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good, and this is what the Dodgers do. Like, if you look at how they got all these players, they're just, like, scattered, you know? Some waivers, like Alex Phillips waivers, Vesia and Gratterall from trades. Like, they just kind of pick up these arms consistently and develop them well. Gatterall's a guy I want to talk about because he's electric, and he hasn't really translated to strikeout stuff, but you see him on the mound, and he's just, like, an intimidating beast. And I would look for him to maybe command most of the save opportunities to start the year, because I think he has that upside if they've maybe figured something out with him a little bit more than they already have. He's already a very good reliever. But again, these guys just know how to develop relievers. The bullpen's always going to be good with the Dodgers. That's what they do. They pick up pieces randomly. It's young, and they pick up pieces. And then you look at, like, Treinen, probably end of the year, but he's an electric closer when he's there. Daniel Hudson will probably be the closer when he gets back because he has experience in that role. Alex Reyes is another guy I want to talk about. A hyped-up prospect for the Cardinals, and just electric stuff, 5 pitches with just, like, overwhelming ability and, like, not only speed but break. He's got everything. Was meant to be a starter, just been injured so much. He's expected to be back 2 months into the year. I'm excited to see what the Dodgers do with him because he is just such a talented arm, and we'll see how it is coming back because this is just another injury on his list. But if the Dodgers are trading for a guy like this, I'm excited about what he can bring. So I'm excited to see him pitch, and hopefully he's healthy for this year because I think he could be a big weapon in this bullpen.
I completely agree. I think it's a bullpen that has been always a reliable source for this Dodgers organization. If it continues to be so, they will continue to be an elite team. Let's take a look at our X factors before we wrap up on this Dodgers team. Do you want to lead us off? Who's your X factor?
Yeah, I'll lead us off because this is actually like one of my like baseball X factors or baseball sleepers for the year. I'm going James Outman. Touched on him earlier. Not a highly rated prospect, not a high draft pick, but he has the production. And with the right style of play, got a taste of the majors, was good last year, and there's playing time available. I mean, Trace Thompson and David Peralta are occupying 2 of the starting outfield spots. I just see there's playing time. He can play all 3 outfield spots. I doubt he'll play center because they have better center fielders, but he's a good athlete. He can hit the ball hard. I just like him to have a really good year for this Dodgers team, and I think he's going to be starting by the end of the year. And if he is, I think that means good things for the Dodgers. That means he played well.
Yeah.
So he's my X factor because I think he can change this lineup dramatically if he plays how I think he will.
I like the pick. I don't know enough about Outman to go too in depth about it, but I think the fact is Dodgers fans would be over the moon if he is able to step into that role, and I do agree with you. I think with obviously Mookie Betts, he will always be slated into the outfield. He may actually play some infield this year for this Dodgers team. We'll see, but there are some question marks in center and left field. So we'll see what happens with the Dodgers. My X factor for this team is going to be Dustin May. Not because he and I share the same hair color, just because I think he's shown the talents to be a very elite pitcher. It hurts him in the sense of being an ace when you've got someone like Julio in front of him. But the fact is, if he can stay healthy and pitch to that second role for this team, I think they can be very competitive in this NL West that has seemingly only gotten better. So my X factor for this team to click, Dustin May.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, he's electric. If he clicks, he clicks, and it's going to be awesome.
Yep. So our last piece of business with this Dodgers team, and I think this is another tough one to predict. Where do we see the Dodgers falling? In the sense of looking at what San Diego did, and we'll talk about them next in our NL West division breakdown. I think it's going to be a tight battle, but I've got them finishing second for the first time in a long time in this NL West division.
Yeah, I'm actually going to follow you on that. I think, we'll talk about the other teams next, but I think there may have been a slight changing of the guard for now, at least. I have this team finishing second, and I think they'll make a wild card spot, but I think it's going to be a closer race than Dodgers fans are used to.
And they might be sweating a little bit more.
There's going to be some fun.
LA.
There's going to be some fun baseball the last month of the season
Yeah.
for the first time for the Dodgers fans. So get ready for that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in to our NL West division breakdown. Our first team of the NL West so far, the LA Dodgers. If we've missed anything, if you feel like we've got other X factors or other critiques, feel free to hop in the comments just directly below us. Feel free to hit that subscribe button just below us. Feel free to hit that like button just below us. Otherwise, go check out all the Star 6 media content on all social platforms. We appreciate you guys, and we will catch you for the Padres here next.